Hello, everyone, welcome to our channel. In last week, a new Menin inhibitor transforms leukemia treatment, Roche breaks ground in lupus nephritis, Novartis redefines what's possible in Sjögren's disease, AbbVie targets Parkinson's with a next-generation therapy, and the FDA takes aim at the cost of biologics with sweeping biosimilar reforms. This is your Biopharma Innovation Weekly. Our first story comes from the field of oncology, a breakthrough that many clinicians have long awaited. On October 24, 2025, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved Revumenib, marketed as Revuforj, for the treatment of relapsed or refractory acute myeloid leukemia, or AML, harboring an NPM1 mutation. This is the first Menin inhibitor ever approved for patients aged 1 year and older, and it targets a population that has historically had few, if any, effective options. AML remains one of the most aggressive hematologic malignancies, and NPM1 mutant disease accounts for nearly 30% of all cases. These patients often respond poorly to standard chemotherapy, and relapse is common. Revumenib's approval marks the culmination of the Phase 1 of 2 AUGMENT-101 trial, which demonstrated a 23.1% complete remission or complete remission with partial hematologic recovery rate, a result that may appear modest, but in the context of heavily pretreated, refractory AML, represents a truly meaningful clinical advance. What's particularly exciting is that Revumenib's mechanism of action targets a previously undruggable pathway. By inhibiting Menin, a key protein involved in maintaining the leukemic state of cells driven by NPM1 mutations, the drug essentially reprograms malignant cells toward normal differentiation. For clinicians, this approval fills an urgent unmet need and offers the potential for durable, life-extending responses where none previously existed. For patients and families, it represents renewed hope, and for the broader oncology field, it signals the arrival of a new therapeutic class with far-reaching implications. Our next story highlights a simpler, but equally patient-centered innovation, this time in cardiovascular medicine. On October 23, 2025, AbbVie Pharmaceuticals announced FDA approval of Javedin, a new oral solution formulation of clonidine hydrochloride for the treatment of hypertension. Clonidine, a well-established antihypertensive, has long been available in tablet form. Clonidine stimulates alpha-2 adrenergic receptors in the brain and spinal cord. This action reduces the amount of the chemical messenger noradrenaline in the body, which leads to blood vessel relaxation and a decrease in heart rate and blood pressure. But for many patients, particularly the elderly, children, or those with swallowing difficulties, oral tablets can be a significant barrier to adherence. Javedin provides a liquid alternative that simplifies dosing and broadens accessibility, aligning with a growing trend in personalized and patient-friendly pharmaceutical formulations. While not a new molecular entity, this approval reflects the FDA's ongoing commitment to improving treatment usability and safety through formulation science. In a healthcare system increasingly focused on adherence and real-world effectiveness, such incremental innovations can have an outsized impact on public health outcomes. Hypertension remains one of the world's most prevalent chronic diseases, and small improvements in medication accessibility can translate into meaningful reductions in stroke and cardiovascular events across populations. From small molecules to large biologics, our third story takes us to one of the most consequential policy shifts the FDA has made in recent years. On October 29, 2025, the agency announced a major initiative to accelerate biosimilar development and, in turn, lower the cost of biologic medicines for American patients. Biosimilars are more affordable alternatives to a specific class of medicines called biologics, including some immunotherapies used to treat many types of cancer. While they are not exact copies, biosimilars follow strict FDA guidelines to ensure they work the same and are just as safe as brand-name biologic medicines. The FDA's new draft guidance simplifies the process of demonstrating biosimilarity and dramatically reduces the need for redundant or large-scale clinical testing. In a decisive policy shift, the agency also said it would no longer generally recommend switching studies for interchangeable biosimilars, a move expected to shorten timelines, cut costs, and expand competition. This action comes against a sobering economic backdrop. Although biologics represent just 5% of all prescriptions in the United States, they account for a staggering 51% of total drug spending as of 2024. Yet, despite the potential for cost savings, biosimilars still capture less than 20% of the U.S. market. Industry observers say the FDA's reform could be a turning point, leveling the playing field with Europe, where biosimilars have already achieved broader uptake. Analysts note that the simplification of regulatory pathways will encourage new entrants and may reduce the price gap between the U.S. and international markets. For payers, it promises relief from soaring specialty drug costs. For patients, it means greater access to life-saving biologics in oncology, rheumatology, endocrinology, and beyond. The move also reflects a broader vision of the FDA's role, not just as a gatekeeper for safety and efficacy, but as a catalyst for affordability and innovation in a healthcare ecosystem under economic strain. Turning next to the field of immunology, another major development came on October 20, 2025, when Roche announced FDA approval of Gazyva, also known as Revumenib, for the treatment of lupus nephritis. This represents a groundbreaking expansion for a drug originally developed to treat certain types of blood cancers, including chronic lymphocytic leukemia. Lupus nephritis is a complication of systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, an autoimmune disease where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks healthy tissues, including the kidneys. B cells play a critical role in lupus nephritis by producing autoantibodies that damage kidney tissue and by contributing to inflammation through antigen presentation and cytokine release. They are a key driver of the disease, and targeting B cells with therapies is a promising treatment strategy for patients with relapsed or refractory lupus nephritis. Revumenib is a glycoengineered, or modified, type 2 anti-CD20 antibody designed to destroy B cells through several distinct mechanisms. In the Phase 3 Regency trial, nearly half of the participants, 46.4%, on Gazyva/Gazyvaro in combination with standard therapy achieved a complete renal response, CR, compared to 33.1% on standard therapy alone. This was accompanied by clinically meaningful improvements in complement levels and reductions in anti-dsDNA, corticosteroid use, and proteinuria, all signaling improved disease control. Until recently, treatment options of lupus nephritis were limited mainly to corticosteroids, immunosuppressants. Gazyva's arrival not only provides another biologic weapon against severe lupus but also represents the first anti-CD20 monoclonal antibody to demonstrate robust renal protection in this setting. It highlights the expanding role of precision immunotherapy in diseases once managed primarily with broad immune suppression. With its proven track record in oncology and now in autoimmunity, Gazyva stands as a versatile biologic bridging two worlds of medicine. Continuing in the autoimmune arena, Novartis delivered what many are calling a historic milestone for patients with Sjögren's disease. On October 29, 2025, the company announced that its investigational therapy Ianalumab had successfully met both primary endpoints in the Phase 3 Neptunus-1 and Neptunus-2 trials, marking the first-ever late-stage success in this notoriously difficult-to-treat condition. Sjögren's disease, characterized by chronic dryness, fatigue, and systemic inflammation, has long been one of medicine's great unmet challenges. It primarily affects exocrine glands, leading to excessive dryness, with over 90% of patients experiencing dry eyes and dry mouth. Sjögren's affects approximately 0.25% of the population with an estimated 50% undiagnosed. Sjögren's is 9 times more common in women than men. No targeted therapies have ever been approved specifically for it, leaving millions of patients worldwide reliant on symptomatic treatments. B-cell dysfunction plays a significant role in Sjögren's disease by causing an autoimmune response that leads to inflammation and tissue damage. Ianalumab is a fully human monoclonal antibody with a novel dual mechanism of action that depletes B cells and also inhibits their activation and survival via BAFF receptor blockade. The Phase 3 results showed not only a statistically significant reduction in disease activity, as measured by the ESSDAI score, but also meaningful improvements in patient-reported symptom burden, captured through the ESSPRI index. This dual success marks the first time a therapy has shown consistent benefit across both clinical and quality of life endpoints. Novartis now plans to file for regulatory approval, potentially bringing the first disease-modifying treatment to Sjögren's patients worldwide. For clinicians, the implications are profound. After decades of therapeutic stagnation, this could redefine the standard of care. For patients, it signals validation that their condition, often under-recognized and underfunded, is finally commanding the attention and innovation it deserves. Our sixth and final story this week takes us into the realm of neurodegenerative disease. AbbVie, one of the world's largest biopharmaceutical companies, announced that it has submitted a new drug application to the FDA for Tavapadon, a novel selective dopamine D1/D5 receptor partial agonist designed as a once-daily oral therapy for Parkinson's disease. The submission follows the successful completion of the Tempo 1 and Tempo 2 trials, which demonstrated improvements in motor function and symptom control across both early and later stages of Parkinson's. Unlike traditional dopamine replacement therapies such as levodopa, Tavapadon directly targets the D1 and D5 receptor subtypes, aiming to provide sustained dopamine pathway activation without the sharp fluctuations or long-term complications associated with standard regimens. For the estimated 10 million people worldwide living with Parkinson's, this approach represents a potential new frontier. AbbVie's development strategy reflects a broader industry shift toward precision targeting of dopamine receptor subtypes to achieve smoother, more physiologic motor control. If approved, Tavapadon could become the first D1/D5 partial agonist available for Parkinson's, and it may offer an important oral alternative to infusion-based or advanced device therapies. This NDA submission also underscores the company's growing neurological portfolio and its continued investment in central nervous system innovation. For the FDA, it adds to a growing queue of neurodegenerative therapies poised to reshape the treatment landscape over the coming years. That's all for today. From oncology to neurology, and from regulatory reform to real-world impact, this week's approvals and initiatives paint a powerful picture of medicine in motion. If you find this content interesting and helpful, don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.